everybody, welcome to my table. My name's Robert Birdman. This is my cousin Chris, and we're on part 3 of Geek Week. So
Geek Week.
He came in from out of town. He's from Colorado, and so he's came hang out with me, and we're just played a series of board games, and we're on to our 3rd review, and we're going to talk about Funkoverse. And so make sure before you get started, though, you hit that like button and you hit that subscribe button so you know whenever we are getting new videos out for you guys, so you can kind of see what our thoughts are on initial gameplays of new to old board games. And so when it comes to Funkoverse, this originally came out in 2019. And so since then, though, there's been a ton of expansions. And so personally, I have the Batman and the Robin and Catwoman expansion. I have the Jurrasic Park expansion, and I have half of the Golden Girls, and then I also have the Kool-Aid Man expansion. And so, but there's tons of others. You found Marvel, there's Harry Potter, and there's probably even more that we don't know of. So, but what's kind of cool about the game, one of the premises is that you can just take any two, and it didn't have to be from the same box.
Nope.
Like personally, I picked the T-Rex from Jurassic Park and Rose from the Golden Girls versus he got 2 from the same Batman box from Batman and Harley. And so completely different. And so you can do that, or you can play from one box. It's up to you. And so it's kind of neat how you can mix and match as characters. And I think that's probably one of the selling points for me, is that being able to see those different strategies and see which character works well with which. Because like me personally, the T-Rex and Rose didn't work well together. But Batman and Harley did work pretty good together. And so as a matter of fact, he whooped me, basically. I had stood a little chance.
Had you do it for Mr. J?
And so that was pretty good.
Thanks.
Yeah. So it started. So like I said, it came out in 2019. Tons of expansions out there. Overall ranking is 2,235, but it's rated at 7.3. Designed by Prospero Hall, and so unfortunately, Prospero Hall didn't state who designed it, who the art is. It just says Prospero Hall. Now, the MSRP for the general big box versions, that's the one that comes with 4 Funko Pops, is $39.99. And generally, the 2 Funko Pops are $29.99. And then you've even mentioned that there's like GameStop exclusives. There might be like Kool-Aid Man. He's a 1 Funko Pop character that you can play as, a little bit cheaper. And so there you go. So lots of variety, and that's one of the cool parts. And so now let's go ahead and get started. So first, we'll talk about components. I gave the components a 9. And the reason why I gave the components a 9 is because, come on, it's Funko. I mean, the minis are great. They're painted. They're very durable. I mean, you could throw them against the wall. Kids can chew on them. They're in good shape. And so they're going to last a good long time.
They're about 3/4 of the size of a regular Funko Pop, which is actually kind of nice.
Yeah.
I mean, they're fairly robust size figures and stuff. I mean, ideally, you could almost put these on a shelf with your other Funko Pops or something, and they just look like a slightly smaller versions. That's pretty neat.
Probably my negative, though, and it's not a huge negative because it keeps it very functional and you can still play, is that the cardboard and the cardstock isn't great. And so you have these tracks that you have that you monitor actions and stuff on. It's okay, but it's nothing special. But it's just standard cardboard or paper stock. It's not particularly thick. It's not linen finish. So there's nothing special about the stock. It'd be really cool. The cardboard itself, the tokens are okay. It'd be kind of cool if they did like maybe acrylic tokens, or if they did something a little special. But, you know, again, it's $40 though. So you're not spending a whole lot of money. And the money is definitely going towards the Funko, not anything else. So I think that it's still good bang for your buck. But as a negative, why it can be a perfect 10 for me is that there's room for improvement on the components.
And I am a little bit stingier on what I expect out of it. I mean, for $40 and whatnot. I thought the game board itself is very well made. It's durable. It can bend. I don't think you're going to have to worry about it tearing or anything for opening and closing and whatnot. But yeah, this is just cardstock. It's not even cardboard. It's cardstock.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it is printed on both sides. But in all honesty, it's just I felt like they could have given a little bit more effort to making these a little bit more sturdy. And so for me, that's why it was an 8, honestly. I love the Funko Pops, love the colorful game board that's there, but they really kind of phoned it in as far as some of the components for play.
Yeah. So 8's still a good solid score though.
Yeah.
So all right, so now we're going to move on to theme. I think we both resoundingly agreed that it's a 10. It's just so much fun being able to pick the character you want to pick, the abilities that they got, trying to mix and match, seeing who does well with others. I think every box is very distinctive. It has each character is unique in its mechanics, its abilities, the items that you can equip and use. The boards that you get all fit the theme, and it's all scenario based. So it, like the one we played was called Control or Territory. So it came up with different sections that if you can gain control of them, you get bonus points. If you can knock each other out or stay in an area for more than one turn, you get bonus points. You get a certain number of points, you win the game. So theme, I think everything fits. I can't complain about anything thematically.
Nope, I agree. I loved that, each one of the characters had usually 3 iconic powers that kind of fit in. Batman has his grappling swing. He can choose a rival that's so many squares away and go right to them. Or, he can just pow, reminiscent of the 60s campy
the Adam
show.
West.
Yeah, pow, bam.
The Adam West Batman.
And even Whirlwind. Whirlywind or out of my way. Move an adjacent rival 1 square because Harley's just going to bull rush through them.
Right.
Which is kind of appropriate to Harley.
So yeah, I think that thematically you really can't do any better. It's really cool. So Rulebook, I gave it an 8. It works. It's not fantastic, but it does its job. I think that the only negative is that we did have to clarify some things that wasn't super clear in the book, like what to do specifically when knocked out. All it says is that you knock out your characters, but that's it.
Right.
And so, we figured it out. You're on the one spot, you come off the one, you go back into play, but there's nothing that really specifies that. So it'd have been nice if that was in there.
And I gave it a 7 because of just what he said. Where did we have to go to figure out the rules? Good old YouTube. And for a game as simple as this is, that was kind of ridiculous to have to go to YouTube for something this simple, for a clarification on something that is a mechanic that's going to happen routinely.
And it makes sense. So once we saw that, it was perfectly fine.
Right.
But if you really, and I just wanted to double check to make sure we were playing it right.
Absolutely.
But if you're a novice into board games and you can't assume that kind of stuff, it might be kind of tough for you to figure out what to do.
Well, and like I mentioned, this is going to attract family gamers and it's going to attract kids.
For sure.
And those are 2 groups where if the rules are a little bit vague, you're going to have fights at the table. Your 8-year-old and your 10-year-old are going to fight over, well, that's not what it means. So, again, for such a simple game aimed at a target audience that's probably younger in all regards, that's why I pulled it down to a 7 for me.
Okay. And then finally we got gameplay. So game is very simple. So first you have to pick a scenario. The scenario will tell you how to win the game. So like I said, initially our scenario is you want to try and get up to, I remember it was 10 points, wasn't it?
6 points.
6 points. And so how you get those points, you can do it a couple of different ways. You could take over these, get these spots specifically. So there's 4 there. You can knock a person out and get a point there, or you can stay in this center area for more than a turn and you get a point. First person to get to those 6 points wins the game. So each scenario is a little different, and that's one of the benefits of buying the expansions is that you get these other scenarios. So even if you're not playing those 2 specific characters, that scenario, you can play any scenario with any character. So then you have more options, and so it's kind of cool that they got that available.
And I gave it a 9 for gameplay, and that is because it is easy, fast gameplay. You could probably fit a couple games in the space of 2 hours, I would imagine.
You get the rules down, you could probably play 4 games in a couple of hours.
Yeah, I think easily. And that in of itself, plus really, just in this, there was 2 different objectives. You had a capture the flag, i.e. the ABCD. You're wanting to come to this point and capture it before the other guy to earn points. Or control, as they said, you want to get to this place, kind of key to the hill, and stay there. And of course, if people are in this space, they're going to be
duke it
fighting.
out. Yeah.
Right. So, I mean, the fact that there was two different, simple, but I guess easily relatable to people that play games like Fortnite or Team Fortress or anything like that, concepts that work on the board game, I thought was a pretty good use because, again, we're dealing with a generation that plays video games. And so having that in there was a smart design, in my opinion.
I was a little bit lower in just gameplay. I had a good time. It's a solid game, but it's definitely targeted for a younger audience. And that's not a bad thing by any stretch of the means, but generally for me personally, I like something a little bit more depth. And so that's why I'm giving it a 7. I think it's still a solid score. It's still a great game. I'll play it anytime, but it's generally going to be when someone else wants to play it.
Sure.
So
again, it's a game for people that if you are a board gamer and you want to get someone into trying board games, this is a great one to bring to the table and say, okay, well, here's a game, a board game, and get them invested. You can have it explained in, under a couple minutes.
Right? Yeah, and I think it'd be great to either do family game night, or you may, maybe you go to a game night at a church, or you go a game night at a library or something where you're going to have younger people. It's just a good thing to have there. So then if they want to, it'd probably get more people involved than what you would if you brought Power Grid or Puerto Rico or two of my favorite games.
It gets that wholesome feel to it, sort of, where, like he said, you don't have to worry about offending somebody when you bring this out.
Right. So, all right, well, that's our review of Funkoverse. Hopefully you got something out of it, and if it interests you, feel free to go out and pick it up. Like I said, lots of different versions out there. Pick the one that interests you the most, get used to the game, and then explore the different characters that are available. Make sure you hit the like, make sure you hit the subscribe button, and that'll be it from us. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.